Well, we just finished day 4 for me of hands-on training in the machine, and today there was something different. Even though they put me on loading a rock truck that I already did, but last time I did it with John Deere, and today I was a bit, scared because Volvo has different controls, right? Volvo has 2 joysticks on the right, one for the boom, one for the bucket. Was on John Deere it was just 1 joystick, and I thought, man, a new machine for me, and they're putting me on loading a truck, which is, you gotta be very careful, not to hit the truck, right? Or not to spill too much stuff. But it took, I don't know, 10-15 minutes to get familiar with the controls. I just drove around, did some it was the same area where we worked before. I just did some bulldozing and then scraping in reverse with a blade like this, just to make it nicer, because they were working there with a dozer, and the dozer left like very, not very, but it left deep marks, and so, as they always say, you have to prepare the surface for the rock truck, right? Because rock truck drivers are prima donnas. They don't like this. And look for any soft spots. If there's a hole somewhere, just grab some soil, put it in, and then pack it, And so I did that, and by the time the rock truck arrived, I was surprised that I could actually load him, Yeah, and the difference between John Deere and this Volvo, first off, the bucket on the Volvo is bigger. So it's the same rock truck, right, that I was loading with John Deere. It would take 5 buckets on the John Deere. Like this one, like a good 3 buckets, it's already full, But I managed to squeeze in a 4th bucket, because today I asked him, I said, at the construction site, do you think people sometimes load from both sides? And he says, yeah. He says it can be a good training exercise for you, because he says this particular truck, because it's only a 30-ton truck, the bed is relatively narrow, and so you can load them from one side. But he says, if you're working with a very big machine, like 100-ton or whatever, even though of course the loader will be much bigger, but still sometimes it's not possible to load them from one side only, because the bed is so wide. And so a couple of times I did that. So even though the guy was parked, like I was picking up material here, and I told the trucker to park like this, and then well, like this, like this, and then last bucket I would go around like in reverse and approach him and load. And of course you have to watch for, when your bucket is high in the air, right, when you're coming towards the truck, it's unstable, so you have to be on good ground, right, without any potholes or something like that. And when I was doing that from the other side, all of a sudden I see my machine starts tilting and the left wheel starts going like this. I'm like, what the heck? I stopped and I slowly reversed and lowered my bucket, because I was just a few feet away from the truck. I was coming towards the truck, and then I look at the bottom. Turns out my left wheel was already rolling on the heel, on the pile of soil, and it started tilting. So I moved like that further away. So yeah, it was good. But this guy was much slower than what's his name, Adam. Adam was faster. I'm guessing, yeah, this was his first time in a rock truck, and he was taking his time. And I see he's standing there at the dumping site, and he's backing back and forth, I'm guessing. And then I had to give him some tips when he was backing, because yeah, I don't think he has much experience with semi trucks or rock trucks, because I could see, you know how a new driver, what they do is they create huge angles, right? That's how you always can tell if it's an experienced driver or inexperienced, because all they know is that, okay, if I turn the wheel to the right, the trailer will go to the left, right? That's what they teach them. If you want the trailer to go to the right, you have to turn to the left. So that's all they know. And so they crank the wheel to the very end, and of course then the trailer starts, you know, because they don't know when to stop and when to straighten the wheels, right? So they create these huge angles and lots of movement with the steering wheel. And I saw that this guy was doing a bit of that, you know, and so I was just giving him tips. Since I'm the boss, you know, we're loading, I'm the loader operator, so I tell the trucker where I want the truck and, you know, which way, what angle. And so basically I was telling him, hey, okay, turn the wheels to the left, or, you know, just keep them straight, go like this, because he was doing the opposite, you know. But, you know, I don't know how I would fare, because it is an articulated truck, so, but that means that it turns even better than a regular truck, right? So you shouldn't be making huge movements with the steering wheel. It's kind of like these Volvo and John Deere, these loaders, they turn on a dime, right, because of this articulation. And this Volvo, so it's a great machine. The honk was working, the signal, the radio was working, but a bunch of other stuff was broken. The interior was very dirty, because I asked the instructor, I said, what is this? Why is it so, some kind of a black? And he said, that's coffee. So he said, people, they're not supposed to bring coffee here, but that cup holder is very shallow, and people put coffee in there, and then of course the loader jumps up and down, so they spill that coffee. So the entire right panel is all covered in very old coffee stains, you know. Nobody cleans it. And then of course, just like all Volvo machines, and this is my first time with a Volvo loader, but there's so many sensors, and of course they all go wrong. Like when I was starting, it starts giving me all kinds of warnings, you know, low brake pressure or something else, or temperature, axle temperature. And then Justin, the instructor, came over. I said, where? Because on the screen it said hit the escape button to kill this warning. And I said, where's the escape button? And it turns out there was a panel on the left. The top left corner says ESC, escape, kind of like on the computer, right? But the top of the body, you know, where the radiator is, like the top part, you know, the plastic piece broken. So somebody hit something. Rough shape. The machine is in rough shape, but the bucket is bigger, the boom is longer, it goes higher, and I think the Volvo has more power, because I was able, when I was scooping material, I could feel, you know, I could get a bigger bucket than with the John Deere in the same spot. And it's pretty hard soil, it's like compacted because it's been sitting there for a long time. But so yeah, it was good. So we loaded probably, I don't know, maybe 8 trucks, because again the guy was new, right? So he was slow, and he says the road to the dumping site on the other side of our training field, he says it's very bumpy, and so he was driving slow, and the speed limit is like 10 kilometers an hour, right? So 6 miles per hour. But still, like, yeah, we didn't do as many trucks as last time. But, and actually the controls, in case somebody's wondering, I'm so happy they did that. It's very intuitive. So basically 2 small sticks, right? If you pull on them, if you pull on the boom stick, the boom goes up. If you pull on the left one, the bucket starts curling, like full, which is exactly what you do when you're loading, let's say sand or gravel, right? You want to start raising your boom and then curling your bucket. And so here you can play with these, you know, 2 kind of like joysticks, but mini, right? Mini joystick. You can just pull them towards yourself, right? and then if you push them, the bucket will dump and the boom will go down, you know. It's like very easy. I don't know, after like 10-15 minutes, I'm telling you, I felt pretty confident that I can load the truck. And I saw another guy, we had the Andy, the other guy who's also taking the loader course among other machines. He was in the John Deere, and his task seemed to be building a berm, you know, like a raised platform. So he had to haul a lot of soil, and I think he made it like 3 feet tall, and then he sloped, so basically like a square platform, 3 feet tall, and then he used his bucket to create slopes on each side, like a V, you know, like a V shape. So it was, the sides were like this, so like great. So I really hope I will redo that ramp building. But now I know that I only have 7 tasks. Like my practical assignments are only 7 tasks, right? And I already did stockpiling, ramp building, and truck loading, and see, we're already repeating, and I still have all next week, right? And so I asked him, I said, are there any more tasks, or is it only these 7 that are written in the book? And he says, yeah, these 7. And so I thought, I came up with the idea that I would add this to my resume, you know, where I have work experience and then education, like my university. But in between, I'm gonna put wheel loader skills and experience, you know. And I'm gonna just copy from this logbook, you know. So now I can say stockpiling 5 hours, loading a rock truck 10. I already spent 10 hours over 2 days. Then building a ramp 5 hours, you know. And so I'm gonna basically sum up how many hours I did each task and put it on my resume. Because, you know, I think people are very skeptical, you know, when a new guy is applying for a job. But actually I did apply today. Somebody posted a job for a loader operator. I sent them my resume, and they sent me some kind of a assessment request, and it says 20 minutes, and so I didn't do it yet because it takes 20 minutes. I'm guessing they asking you all kinds of questions there, you know, like your attention to detail, you know. I don't know, I hope they don't ask me too much about the experience, but when I get home I'm gonna do that assessment. And then somebody just texted me, are you looking for a part-time or full-time job? I'll say I'm flexible, even though part-time, you know, that's not gonna help me very much. I need to make some money. If it's part-time, what, I don't know, 3 hours a day, 20 hours a week at $20 an hour, $400. Oh, and I'm talking to, finally, somebody is interested in my accordion, because that's you know, source of cash, right? So I'm talking to a guy in Ukraine, because, you know, Russia is fully closed. That's where all these accordions, Russian accordions, are popular. But Russia, there's no direct flights to Russia, right? I cannot buy a cheap accordion from there, even though they say they can ship it. But how do you send the money? It's like, it's a nightmare. But Ukraine is totally different. And this guy, he's an accordion player, and he buys and sells accordions. And so I watched him a couple of times on YouTube, and I sent him a message. I said, would you be interested in buying my Dino Buffetti? And he gave me his WhatsApp number, and we talked this morning. And he says, so how much, like, what's your asking price? And I said, well, the plan is to sell it so I can buy a cheap accordion, kind of like that green one I had, and then I can put like a couple of $1,000 in my bank account. And what's interesting is that in Ukraine, he says, yeah, we have our own Ukrainian accordions here, but he says it's like over 1,000 euros, like even the cheap one. I said, how about this Baranya? You know, like it's a famous accordion from Shuya, which in Russia costs like just over $1,000, maybe $1,200 US. He says 2,500. I said, are you guys crazy? Why are your accordions so expensive? But then he doesn't want to pay me my full asking price. He says I can give you $2,000 US for my accordion. So anyway, that's a bit low, but at least something's happening. People are showing interest, you know. So hopefully I can sell it and get a cheap one. I saw on Amazon Canada, but they're refurbished, but they're nice little accordions, you know. Everything works. So anyway, time now is 12:30, so I still have 30 minutes to kill. I didn't drive to the restaurant this time. I brought some veggies with me. You know, I'm just waiting for the classroom, right? Classroom will start at 1 o'clock. But so yeah, this was interesting. This was interesting today for me to compare two different machines with two different controls, and it was not that bad. But Volvo, man, it's so beat up, you know. But everybody says they like Volvo loader. Like other guys, they're saying they like Volvo better than John Deere. And again, more power, higher reach with a boom, and bigger bucket. So thanks for watching.